Well, I'm finished up the Meadows and I'm headed back to Northfield Park. Now I had a pretty good day at the Meadows, and last night, I'll be honest, long day. I was a little tired. I was waiting for Mounts for All and for Mel Gibson to race, and I fell asleep. Woke up this morning to Mounds making a break, and one of my partners said, "Oh, he never runs. There's got to be something wrong with this horse." Well, he said 3 breaks in 7 starts. It's not that he doesn't run. You know, in fairness to Mounts for All, it's very difficult to have the trailing post in with a lot of horses. It looks like he kind of gets screwed up a little bit coming off the car, and he rolled off. You know, to me, it said, "Well, I mean, does he need a break? Is he tired?" No, I get this all the time, especially since we're turning horses out right now. Those horses that are done for the season, we're gonna, move them out. We talked about some of the fillies last week, a couple of colts this week. If they don't make the finals or their prospective finals in the Stallion or the Sire Stakes, and they're going to be going out soon. But when it comes to Mounts for All, he raced once at Mohawk, he raced once at Northfield, and he went to the Indiana. He trotted his last quarter 2 starts ago in 27-1. I don't see any other signs of him being tired. The break last night is, sometimes when you put a horse's nose up on the gate going out of there, they're on their toes. They're ready to go, especially for a lazy horse like him. To have the trailing post, it is really, really hard to put them on their toes. It just is, because you're not on the gate. You aren't able to come up into position. You're behind somebody. And it's a little foreign to them sometimes, especially like a horse like Mounts. So no, Mounts for All. I don't feel there's any reason to stop with him or turn him out. I think the horse would be much better. I know Ronnie Wren said he was going to drive them next week, which was fine with me. I don't have a problem with Brandon Bates driving at all, but Brandon Bates is not Ronnie Wren. I'm not Ronnie Wren. Ronnie does a great job, I think, very highly of his driving, and I'm happy to have him drive the horse. And Mel last night, to get beat up. So I didn't watch the race. I didn't see the replay of him finishing third. I just turned my phone on and watched the race, and all the way down the lane, I'm like, he won. Oh my God, he was 3rd beat ahead. And it was pretty nail-biting, for sure. I thought the horse raced good. Quietly has been, I guess, truthful in the hunt, for sure. One of our best horses this year. Was very, very good. So I was happy with Mel Gibson, and honestly, I might call Mounts for All lazy and say you have to have him on toes. I'm going to give him a pass. That is a tough thing to ask a horse like him with his mentality and his, just because he is lazy. To put him on his toes from a trailing spot, it's hard to do. So I'm going to give him a pass. We'll see how he does next week. I know that I talked to Ronnie Burke today. He thought the horse was raced well, and he was pretty happy with Mel Gibson. He said that other colt's got a lot more to offer. And that's kind of how I conveyed it to you. That's the feeling I got from Mounts for All. When you sit behind him, when we trained him, when we raced him, there's a lot more there to offer. And it's not that he's sour, but he is lazy. So I think he'll be fine in the future. Had some great news yesterday. Insider trading, I was concerned. She wasn't 100% comfortable at the races the other night, and then pulled up lame afterwards. Now, a different kind of lame. As somebody who drove, I don't know how many horses let's say it's 25,000 horses I've driven in my life. Factor in qualifiers, schoolers, training trips. I spent a lot of time of my adult life in a race bike or a jog cart, and I've seen the types of lamenesses when the horses pull up. When they're acutely lame, it's generally a bone, a line, a bone. When they're progressively lame, and then after the race, when they cool down, they're sore, and then the next day they're very, very lame. That's many times you'll see soft tissue with that, and lines, but it's just different mannerments how they act, and I just couldn't put my finger on it the other night. She was acutely lame and then sound, and then acutely lame and then sound, and then after the race she was lame. And I'm like, maybe she's got I don't know, maybe she's got something bothering her. And then Megan had another vet come in and look at her, and she goes, there might be something going on with some soft tissue, which that didn't tread well. I didn't buy into that, and that's hard. And no disrespect to any veterinarian out there that looks at something and says, it might be this or it might be that, and then you find out later it's more or it's less. A la qui voit, when you're reading an ultrasound, it's all French. I can't see an ultrasound. I don't understand. I'm around horses my whole life, and I can't read an ultrasound. Not qualified to, but you think after a while being around all this stuff, you pick some of these things up. X-rays and ultrasounds are so hard to read, and I just went back to what I saw, what my eyes saw, And I said to Megan, there's no possible way. It's a suspensory or something like that. It just isn't. It does not look like that. You can convince me that she's got a line that maybe just hasn't opened up yet. Then Megan got home from Kentucky and she said, I'll tell you what, she's standing on it now. Well, and there's 2 black dots at the back of her bulb. One of the bulbs are her feet, so the bulbs are the soft parts at the back of the foot. I talked to you guys, I talked to our clients that own Insider Trading, but I did not talk to all of you. So, generally when you have an abscess, quarter crack, something in the foot coming, you put the hoof testers on the horse and you can test roughly, you'll press in a certain area and the horse will flinch, right? Because that's where it is. Well, when something comes out the bulb, you can't really test there because it's very soft and tender to begin with. So I would say, all things considered, it was 100% a pus pocket. It was ready to pop at the racetrack, but had not popped at the track. That's where the lameness was coming from. She didn't want to step on the back of her foot, but once she trotted off on it, it wasn't the end of the world. Then after the race, sore on it again. The next day she was sore on it. The day after that, at some point between the day after the race in the afternoon and the next morning, it had blown out of her foot. It must have been very sore because she was very uncomfortable on it. It was so weird. But now looking back on it, it did not present like any normal injury I saw. That's why I was a little sheepish about it, because it just wasn't presenting like an injury I'd seen. Because it was in such a weird place and it was such an odd thing. And then when they ruled out the foot because of the hoof testers, you're like, well, there goes that. That would have been the best thing ever if it was just a pus pocket or a quarter crack coming. But you couldn't test at the back, and that's where it blew out. So we really dodged a bullet. Megan sent me a videotape of her jogging. She was sound as a dollar. So she'll race in the consolation. Memory and Imagination will race in the final. Now, more big news coming for everybody. I've been a little quiet about Spitfire Overseas. I talked a little bit about his training the other day, but I hadn't really talked too much about it after that. I trained him, what day is today? Thursday. I trained him Tuesday morning. Now, we talked about, if you guys have been following this whole quinidine thing, he's been tested. They've talked to the commission, and the commission is looking at it, because it's not fair that this horse, if he was completely ready, in a perfect world, it would be unfair that this horse wouldn't be able to race. So Tuesday I come in, trained him at 59, last half 58, I believe. He was very strong. Heart was perfect after, couldn't blow a match out up at the barn. The horse looked great. I even went as far as to enter him at Mohawk. Asked Dominic, can you enter Spitfire Overseas at Mohawk on Monday? That would be 6 days before Philadelphia. A little traveling, but with lots of fluids, we should be fine. We're going to have to take him off Lasix anyway. Woodbine didn't use the class. Carried it over to Tuesday. 6 days is okay. 5 days, not cool. Especially when we can certainly qualify him Tuesday at the Meadows. So Tuesday at the Meadows, we will be taking Spitfire Overseas off Lasix, and he will be qualifying for, I'm only going to go a mile like 57 with him. I don't want to go to the well at all with him. And if he feels good and looks good and is good, he's going to be entered in the final of the Pennsylvania Sires. And before everybody piles on with optimism or negativity, I think I'm going to ask Mark to go drive the horse. Scott's not going to be there, I don't believe. Or is Scott going to be there? Scott is going to be there, but he told me he had to drive Aki Svansted's horse. So I might get Mark to drive him. Why? Because this is the last baseball tournament of the year for my son, and I really don't believe that I should miss it. I'm going to have to miss Saturday's day of the tournament, but I don't really think going to Philadelphia to drive Crantini in the consolation. And say what you want about Mark and Crantini. He was second in the Sires last year. Mark drove the horse perfectly last week. Absolutely perfectly. Was it first start Lasix? Was it that the mucus was that bad that it bothered him? What was going on? There's a million things that it could be. He just wasn't good. But he didn't drive bad. Drove the horse perfect. And Spitfire Overseas, Mark's already driven before also, in the final last year. So Spitfire Overseas is going to be slated to race in the final in Philadelphia. Now, I guess this is all on how he qualifies. But after looking at his training mile the other day, I barely asked him, and he barely blew a match out last half 58. If we qualify him at 57 last quarter and 28, and he's in the iron, and he's tough, and he's strong, and he feels good, and his heart sounds good, and he looks good, I think I would be okay, as the vet said. I would be okay with signing off on racing Spitfire Overseas on Sunday. So a lot had to go into him making the final, and aside from all the bureaucratic stuff and all the hard work he had to put in to get back from that day when he AFib'd to today, or Tuesday, or next Tuesday, or Philadelphia on the following Sunday, none of it matters because he's still in with the best horses in Pennsylvania. We would be going there on a hope and a prayer to snag some money out of the final. We could. He's been good enough. He beat them in 53 come 27. But that's back when he was a little tighter. And he hadn't got into AFib. But racing is racing. It would not be a perfect situation, but it wouldn't be an imperfect situation also. His mile on Tuesday was strong enough. A good stepping stone, a good building block. And if he feels comfortable and goes a good mile on Tuesday, that's a perfect timing also. It's 5 days out from next competition. I think that's a good situation to have this horse in, if everything goes well. And of course, everything has to be right with his heart and his lungs. He can't bleed. He has to, he has to recover quickly. His heart has to be good. I have to get a complete green light from the veterinarian before I'm even remotely okay with saying, yes, let's go to Philadelphia. So we'll see what takes place in the Meadows on Tuesday with Spitfire Overseas. But scheduling right now will be Spitfire Overseas for the final next Sunday in Philadelphia. Crantini for the consolation next Sunday in Philadelphia. Now, rewind one day. Insider Trading will be in the consolation on Saturday. Memory and Imagination will be in the final on Saturday. I'm going to drive both of those horses. And if we're really lucky, Lonely Lakewood will be in the consolation. He's sitting first also eligible right now. So if somebody doesn't enter, or is sick, or is lame, Lonely Lakewood will be in. Now, that brings me to my next question. I said to Tim, I'll tell you what we'll do. Lonely Lakewood does have a little bit of stuff left. So enter him in the non-winners at 2 for Thursday at the Meadows if he feels good and you think he's good. Enter him for the non-winners at 2. And if he gets in the final, we'll scratch him. If he doesn't get in the final, no harm, no foul. We'll race him Thursday at the Meadows. Called the judges to make sure that was okay, and they were okay with that also, which seems logical. Right? He's not supposed to get in the final on points, but if he does, could you please excuse us from Thursday's non-winners at 2 so we could go race for $40,000 or $50,000 in the consolation for a horse that's coming in razor sharp. Of all our horses right now, of all our 2-year-olds, Mel Gibbswan looks good. Memory and Imagination might have pitched that break him in Pickpocket, but the sharpest horse right now from what I can see, and I guess that's not fair. There's a lot of sharp horses right now, but Lonely Lakewood is up there. Trotted 56, really come forward, really feels good. I love what I see from this horse right now, and I would love nothing more than to be able to race him in Poconos and go right back to where he won that Stallion Series event 2 starts ago and race in the consolation. So that is the news of the day. How about the racing of the day? We went with 3 horses today. I was so worried after watching Royal Emeralds just kind of race poorly, quite poorly. I was kind of worried about her. Yes, I was a little tired. I got Red Bull. You got me. I was a little worried about Affection. By far the most impressive mile she's put in all year. Finished her work off and looked great. Even looked so good as Ben and Jane had asked me after, geez, could we race in something like the Liberty Bell or the Keystone Classic at the Meadows? I was pretty blunt, I guess. I just said I don't think I would. I would love to turn all our horses out happy. It doesn't always work that way. At the end of the season, they're a little tired. Might have a chip on their shoulder. And it's not very often that you turn one out when it's on the top of its game. And Affection's mile today was the best mile she's ever put in officially on the track. I was thoroughly impressed with not only the speed and the time, but how she did it, how she pulled up, and the professionalism she showed to take over the lead, and draw away. I talk about that all the time. Maybe some people don't think that's important. To me, I think it's very important. Be merciless on the track. All good horses are merciless. And although it was a maiden, and you use words like merciless and the maiden are easy. She was. She did her work so well. I was so proud of her today. Very, very impressed with that filly today, and she looked good doing it. So ultimately, it's up to Jane and Ben. I'm going to talk to them more, but I would, the dialogue we have is simple. I know she looked good. Can she do more? Maybe. But the Liberty Bell and the Keystone Classic, those are open to everybody. And a lot of the Sire Stake horses at the end of their seasons head for those places too. All the Meadows horses do when it comes to the Keystone Classic. The Liberty Bell, I think, is in Philadelphia. So all the East Coast ones, same boat, go there. It's no cakewalk. Those are tough races, and they don't go for a ton of money, and they always go fast. So I would say no, but it is a dialogue we can have. To me, just seeing how happy the filly was and how sharp she was coming back to the winner's circle, I would like to turn her out on a good note. Turn her out in a good note and bring her back the same way I watched her come off the track today. Would be a feather in her cap, and most definitely a feather in hers. So that was Affection. Cupid Express jogged. Last week I didn't know her that well, so I let her out a little bit on the front end and I got picked off. I don't think she was as tight as she could be, but man, she was so good today. If you watch her down the backstretch, go back and watch the video. Getting into the last turn, you see her gears come up. It was a cakewalk for her. At that point, we had 28-2, 58-3, 127 in a piece. She was just coasting along on her own. I kicked the earplugs out coming out of the turn. I didn't really need to, but I wasn't leaving anything to chance. So I put her in gear and really just let her idle the whole way down the lane. She was awesome. What a sweet filly she is. And just jogged. Looked very good in doing so. Can't ask much more than that from any of her horses. Just to do your work professionally and finish off with some pop, and she certainly did, and looked very good today. Just a very nice win for her and for all of her owners. Congratulations to everybody that owns her. And then the last one, Major Megan. I went to go pick up the program. I said, love of God, there is some killers in here, like killers. One of them showed racing against Gung Ho. It's like, this is a condition claimer. So I think there was a little, I had told Tim, put her in the non-winners of 4. She raced good in Northfield. Different non-winners of 4. Very different. Non-winners of 2, but not more than 4. Thank you. That was one of the saltiest crews, I guarantee you, the toughest bunch that Major Megan has ever seen in her life. And I think she tied up a little bit. Coming to the half, she was pacing nice, and then her tail popped up in the air. Now, it's hard to tell. When you race a horse so far over their head that they are literally buried, it's hard to tell if everything was functioning well, or whether she just said at the 5/8, you know what, bye-bye, see you next time. And I wouldn't blame her if she did. So I had said to Tim pulling up, if you took what I paid for her and all the purse money she's made, put it together, you might be able to purchase a few horses in this field for that, but likely not. That is a salty bunch today. So that's on me, my fault. I'd said to Tim, fillies and mares, now where's the 4 claimer, whatever they got here. He said, that's not a stiff bunch. That's where she needs to be. So again, it's tough, right? To pick up the race from the week before, look at yours, say, I think my horse can do in there. So unless you can say, I know my horse is a contender in there, not going to race in there. And it's not as hard. Like, our barn is a big barn. We can continue to bring horses in and move horses out. We will. I'll talk about that in a minute. We can continue to bring horses in and move horses out. Not that difficult. So you don't have to worry about saying to somebody, maybe it belongs in a claimer. Okay, put it in a claimer. Yeah. Condition claimer? Yes. Thank you. May I have another? Horses like Major Megan, we're not doing her any favors racing her a class like that any more than it would be if we, raced, you may as well just put her in the Jugette. Is racing that class. So that's my fault for not understanding the situation better. The non-winners of 4 at Northfield, not the same as the non-winners of 4 at the Meadows today. There was some killers in there. So we'll find old Megan a place to dance next week where she can lead the group rather than follow the group. That won't be a problem. So Major Megan, if you're watching this, I apologize. My bad. So we have, that's it for today, I believe. We've had a good week. Now I am going to put some horses in the preferred sale coming up. A couple of our 3-year-olds that are going in now. I don't know why. They have the sale on the Tuesday. I had everything perfect in my mind. Put them in the sale on the Monday. They draw the consolations on Tuesday. Not a problem. So we're going to have to work out something where, I think the last time we did this where it was a stake, we credited the new owners with what they made in the final. I believe is the way that David Reed had worded it. Virtually, we're going to race the horse. You're going to buy it. We're going to race the horse. And we'll credit you with it. But I don't even think you have to. When you're selling at a public auction, I know when I went to Ontario, the trainer that entered the horse just had to race it. The ownership could change. So I just need to know the exact ruling because it will affect. So here, I'm telling you what I'm going to do right now. Austral Hanover, Tailgate Buzz. I think there was 5 horses on the list, if I'm not mistaken. And I would even think about activation. Reason being, we had a nice horse last year. Took a mark of 56, won the final, won the Stallion final, had 5 wins coming into this year, and found it really tough until the Stallion Series started up. In fact, I think he hit the board 1 time outside of stake races this year. Now, could we have done better moving him around? I don't think so, but maybe. Activation's almost priced himself out of the market now. He's had a great year. He's going to have a nice little bankroll at the end of the year. I think he's a contender, maybe one of the better ones. I think there's a couple that might give him a tussle in the final, but he belongs in that class, and he is a serious contender in the Stallion Series. But after that, you have Corbin. We can continue to race him in Corbin, I suppose, which I would lobby for. But 2024, unless he grows up and really comes forward, which I can't rubber stamp that. I can't say that that's likely to happen. He could be a nice horse. I think Austral Hanover's a very nice horse. But when you look to the far right where they keep the money, there's not a ton there for this year. Probably a little bit less than a horse as good as him should have. So I could certainly and would certainly open a dialogue as to whether activation should also find its way into the preferred sale next Tuesday. Anyway, there are Coupe de Ville has some races coming up, has a consolation of the Buckeye coming up, may make her way into the consolation of the Sire Stakes, and definitely has some upside as far as she only has 5 wins. She gets around any size track. She's decently bred. This is Globetrotting's sister by full sister. No, by Uncle Peter, I think, or is she what the hell? I'm not sure. Either way, half sister. Horses like that. I just think that there's a lot of fishing to be done over the next 2 weeks. Good quality horses, but you put a little icing on top of that cupcake with the Sire Stakes consolation or the Buckeye consolation or stake races in the future. The whole point is to maximize what we're doing, and especially when it comes to those particular horses. Happy to keep them if we don't get paid what we should get paid. But given the market these days, right now, and this is the same way it is every year, the market right now, I think it might be the smartest thing to do. So with that, I'm going to let you guys go. Talk amongst yourselves, so to speak. Feel free to drop me a line. As I said, happy to open up any sort of dialogue with you in regards to any of the sophomores. Now, horses like Crantini, I think they're more geared for Harrisburg, right? I personally do, because I think he's worth more than even the stakes left would allude that he is, and I think he's going to have a decent 4-year-old year. This horse already won in 53. There's no reason to think that he isn't going to be better at 4. I think he will. He could be. So he should get paid in regards in that line, in that path. I just don't think you're going to get that online. I could be wrong though. And it's free to try. Well, it's not free. You have to pay a fee to put them on the site. But these are things we got to make smart moves in the fall. We get the yearling sales coming up now. Yes, I said it. I said the yearling sales. Lexington is online. It is and should be talked about now, I suppose. We have the yearling sales coming up. Every year we try and scoop some horses out of Harrisburg. That might be somebody else's Crantini, like it looks like money. Those are the things that we want to be on the lookout for also. So there's going to be a little bit of importing and exporting over the next little while, and I think we need to be smart about it. So with that, I'm going to let you guys go. Feel free to drop me a line, talk to me, text me, email me. I'm here. It's my job. And always happy to hear from you guys. So I hope you had a wonderful day. We went 2 for 3, and it would have been impossible to go 3 for 3 today. So we did the very best we could today in the Meadows. A good day yesterday, and hopefully even better days ahead. Take care.